Carlos Baleba was supposed to be Brighton's next blockbuster sale, the one that proved their recruitment magic still worked. But this season, he's been subbed early, dropped entirely, struggling in matches that were meant to make his name. So why is Manchester United still chasing him like nothing's changed?
I keep telling you, United still want Baleba. Baleba is still very keen on a move to Manchester United, even more now. They're doing very well in the Premier League, so you can see the progress, you can see the improvement. And so Carlos Baleba is a name we have to keep very high on Manchester United. Shortlist for the midfield.
That statement hits harder when you look at the season he's actually having. This season wasn't supposed to go like this. Carlos Baleba came into the campaign as Brighton's midfield hope and Manchester United's long-term target. But from the first few games, something was off. The swagger had dipped, so had the minutes. Subbed off before the hour mark, benched in games where he'd normally start, and sometimes left out completely. Then came the Old Trafford audition, the one everyone had circled. This was meant to be his stage. Instead, it was a collapse, loose touches, mistimed passes, a performance that raised one question louder than the rest. Is this really a £100 million player? And that's when the real debate began. The backlash was immediate. Pundits questioned his focus. Some accused him of losing his edge. Others went deeper, calling out his professionalism and mentality. And then came the price tag. £100 million for this version of Carlos Baleba. Fans scoffed. Analysts shook their heads. But Manchester United never flinched. They still see him as a future anchor for their midfield. Still believe there's a player in there the rest of the league has stopped looking for. So what exactly are they seeing that everyone else is missing? Why does Carlos Baleba remain a top target while the numbers and the eye test say otherwise? Let's get into it. To understand why Manchester United are still circling Carlos Baleba, you have to understand where he came from. Born in Douala, Cameroon, in 2004, Carlos Baleba grew up in Aqua, a city of noise, pressure, and endless street football. He joined Future Soccer FC as a kid, but it was Brasseries du Cameroon, the academy behind some of Africa's brightest stars, where he took off. By 17, he was already on European radars. Lille moved first, and within months he was playing under Paulo Fonseca, stepping into Ligue 1 matches and holding his own like a veteran. That was all United needed to see. Brighton too. In the summer of 2023, Brighton made their move. €27 million plus add-ons and a sell-on clause. It looked like a steal. 70 plus appearances later, Carlos Baleba is still only 21. A full Cameroon international. And a midfielder with flashes that made analysts whisper words like rare profile and elite ceiling. That's the context. That's the foundation. Now we can finally ask the real question. So here's the twist in the saga. Carlos Baleba's form might be dropping, but the data behind his performances, still elite. And this is where United's analysts have kept their focus. Because while the headlines talk minutes and mistakes, the numbers reveal something different. A 21-year-old with a profile almost impossible to replicate. He covers ground like a destroyer, carries the ball like a winger, wins duels like a veteran. Even in games where Brighton struggle, Carlos Baleba still tops the team in ball recoveries, still wins ground duels at an elite rate, still slips out of pressure with the kind of calm that first got him on United's radar. His form may have dipped, but the engine, the tools, the ceiling, they're still there, still loud in the metrics. United aren't buying the dip. They're betting on the curve. The version of Carlos Baleba they see isn't the one in front of us. It's the 1-2 seasons down the line, when the mistakes have been sanded off and the talent fully matured. Last season wasn't just solid, it was quietly elite. Carlos Baleba, playing his first full Premier League campaign at just 20 years old, was already doing things most midfielders never reach, even in their prime. Let's break it down. 91st percentile for interceptions, 91st for ball recoveries, 80th for pass completion, 79th for aerial duels won, 70th for tackles, 92nd for passes blocked, and the one that raised the most eyebrows, 95th percentile for defensive goal-creating actions. This is not normal. This is the kind of profile scouts label rare. And remember, he did this in a Brighton midfield full of chaos, carrying defensive weight far beyond his years. Even the attacking numbers, while less explosive, show potential. 80th percentile for successful take-ons, 58th for progressive carries, over 44 passes per 90 without being Brighton's main playmaker. These are the numbers United care about. Not the dip, not the headlines, not the substitutions. This is the player they're scouting, and this is why he's still so high on their list. So what happened? Why has one of the league's most promising midfielders looked so lost? Inside Brighton, the answer isn't a secret. Even his manager, Fabian Hürzeler, has hinted at it. The Manchester United interest hit harder than anyone expected. All summer the narrative was clear. United wanted him. He wanted the move. But Brighton said no, and when the deal collapsed, something broke. Not physically, but mentally. Since then, the signs have been everywhere. Sharp drop in form, inconsistent performances, substituted early, benched outright, minutes disappearing. This isn't rotation, this is frustration, from the touchline and the player. Hürzeler has said it himself. Carlos Baleba hasn't been switched on. There have been lapses in concentration, missed defensive duties, moments where he just disappears. That's not a talent issue, that's a focus issue, a mindset rattled by what could have been. This isn't a player who's fallen off. It's a player stuck between two clubs, one that wouldn't let him go, and one that still wants him. So why do Manchester United still want him? This is the part that confuses most people. If the form is off, if the mentality's in question, if Brighton can't seem to get a full performance out of him, why are Manchester United still so locked in? Because they're not scouting who he is right now. They're buying the version they saw last season, the 20-year-old who played with the composure of a seasoned Premier League anchor. The numbers back it, the tape confirms it. The profile, almost impossible to replicate. To United's recruitment team, this isn't about form, it's about projection. They believe Carlos Baleba's dip is mental, not permanent, that a structured elite environment can switch everything back on. They've seen players dip before. Marcus Rashford, Luke Shaw, even Bruno Fernandes. But they've also seen what happens when raw talent is given belief, focus, and a system built to elevate it. This isn't a blind gamble, it's a calculated bet on trajectory over trend. And right now, United believe they're the only ones still watching the long game. The biggest risk in this saga isn't Carlos Baleba's form, it's what happens next. Brighton are still holding out for close to £100 million, but keeping that valuation alive without a surge in form, that's a gamble of its own. Because if United walk, Brighton are left with a frustrated player, dipping in form and already looking beyond the club. And when a player wants out, the price rarely climbs, it drops, especially as contract years start ticking down. Brighton's leverage fades with every window that passes, but United have their own risk. If speculation alone is shaking Carlos Baleba, what happens under the lights at Old Trafford? Every pass judged, every mistake dissected, every substitution turned into a headline. Are they paying for who he is, or for who he might become? Because £100 million isn't just a fee, it's a statement. And right now, the real question is whether Carlos Baleba's ceiling justifies that kind of statement. Some insiders have said a move could be difficult in the short term, but is the real issue the fee, the form, or the fear that this could go either way? Because right now, both sides have something to lose. Brighton risk holding out too long. If Carlos Baleba's form keeps dipping and his focus drifts, they're left managing a player whose value quietly erodes, not explodes. That price tag becomes harder to defend with every low-impact performance. And United, they risk stepping into yet another high-pressure gamble. If Carlos Baleba's rattled by rumours, what happens when he's thrown into the spotlight at Old Trafford? No hiding, no silence, no second chances. This isn't just about potential anymore, it's about pressure. And yet the signs remain. Carlos Baleba wants the move. United haven't taken him off their radar. Brighton are holding their ground. Ruben Amorim has already hinted that if a player truly wants Manchester United, the club will push hard behind the scenes to make it happen. So now we're headed for a decision. A clash of belief, value, and timing. Your turn. Should United go all in for Carlos Baleba, or wait for a safer option? Is he worth the price? Or is this a bet on a ceiling that hasn't proven itself yet? Let me know what you think in the comments, because this story isn't over.